Imagine discovering that the most enigmatic character in The Lord of the Rings, the one who seemed to know everything before it happened, is hiding secrets that even the biggest fans don't know. Gandalf, the wizard whom many consider the true architect of victory in Middle-earth, carries a story that goes far beyond his battles against evil. And no, he wasn't just a wizard with a shiny staff. He was Olorin, a Maya spirit from a world far beyond the imagination of any hobbit. Why did Gandalf never use the ring, even knowing its devastating power? Or how did he transform small hobbits into heroes worthy of legends? These are questions that reveal powerful lessons for real life. What few people realize is that Gandalf isn't just a literary character. He is an archetype of the wise mentor, a guide who teaches that strength lies both within us and in others. And here's a curious fact that will change how you see everything. Gandalf wasn't sent to defeat Sauron, but to inspire the peoples of Middle-earth to do it themselves. Yes, you read that right. His mission wasn't to be the hero, but to create heroes. Have you ever stopped to think about what this says about leadership and purpose? The wizard, with his choices and sacrifices, invites us to reflect on how we can transform our world without losing ourselves in power. But here's the crucial point. Gandalf not only survived the deepest shadows, he was reborn from them. His clash with the Balrog and his transformation into Gandalf, the White, are powerful metaphors for the ability to overcome and reinvent oneself. If he, a Maya, had to go through fire, literally to become stronger, what does that say about your own struggles? And this is just the beginning. Gandalf's story is filled with mysteries, brilliant strategies, and choices that shaped the fate of Middle-earth. Get ready to uncover the secrets of the most powerful wizard created by J.R.R. Tolkien, and how these lessons can inspire your own journey. Because just like Gandalf, you too can be a light in the midst of darkness. Gandalf wasn't just a wizard, he was a force for change. Imagine a mentor who, even without taking full leadership, knows exactly how to inspire those around him to give their best. He did this with Frodo, Aragorn, and many others, guiding them without carrying the weight of destiny alone. The Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit show how he was a master at leading without dominating, something that, let's face it, many leaders today lack. If you lead a team, think, are you helping others shine or stealing the spotlight for yourself? His true name was Olorin, a Maya spirit from Valinor, but in Middle-earth he was Gandalf the Grey, the one who turned chaos into opportunity. A clear example of this was his arrival in the Shire, a place of comfort and monotony. He brought the unexpected, both into Bilbo's and Frodo's lives, showing that sometimes the biggest step is stepping out of the comfort zone. In your life, where is the Shire holding you back from moving forward? Gandalf was also a catalyst for courage. Amid the darkness of Moria, or the tense calm before the Battle of Helm's Deep, he was a pillar of hope. He teaches us that even in dark times, it's possible to ignite a small flame. Think about it when everything seems lost. What could be your little spark? A new project, a forgotten idea, or even a book like J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings to remind you that heroes are made in challenges. One fascinating aspect of the wizard was his humility. Unlike Saruman, who sought power, Gandalf was dedicated to serving. He saw value in the seemingly small hobbits, dwarves, and ordinary men, and knew that great changes start with simple acts. If today you think that small actions don't matter, Gandalf would disagree. Paying attention to a conversation, helping someone in need, or even believing in yourself can be the start of a great journey. And speaking of journeys, Gandalf knew how to connect dots that no one else saw. He was the one who gathered Bilbo, Thorin, and the dwarves for the adventure that would change the history of Middle-earth. He saw potential in unlikely places. And you? Are you seeing the opportunities in your life or stuck in the obvious? maybe it's time to look at things the way Gandalf did, with an open mind and a heart full of purpose. Before Gandalf became the wise figure we know, he was Olorin, a Maya spirit who dwelled in Valinor, the land of the immortals. There, he learned the virtues of compassion and patience under the guidance of Nienna, the Lady of Tears and Wisdom. Imagine someone who sees strength in sadness and teaches that even pain can be transformed into growth. How many times do we underestimate our own difficulties, not realizing that within them may lie the greatest lessons? Nienna was his mentor, a figure who taught not only to endure adversities, but to grow with them. It was from this learning that Gandalf developed his unique ability to inspire others. He understood that life's greatest challenges are like the burden of the One Ring. We cannot ignore them, but we can carry the weight with dignity. What is the ring you need to learn to bear today? Gandalf's connection to Valinor also shaped his vision of hope. Valinor was the eternal light, a contrast to the darkness he would face in Middle-earth. He knew that the brightest light shines in the darkest moments, and this certainty guided his actions. Think of a difficult moment you faced. Now imagine how you could use the strength that emerged from that moment to inspire others. Interestingly, despite his divine origin, Gandalf never used it as a reason for superiority. He chose to live among mortals, walking among hobbits, dwarves, and ordinary men. He reminds us that true value isn't where we come from, but how we choose to act. Have you ever thought that maybe what sets you apart is exactly what you consider common? Finally, his departure from Valinor to Middle-earth was an act of sacrifice and purpose. He left the safety of eternity to enter a world in crisis, guided by a mission greater than himself. Similarly, we often need to step out of our comfort zones and embrace the unknown. Who knows? Your next great journey might be waiting where you least expect it. When the Valar sent the Istari to Middle-earth, they weren't looking for warriors or conquerors. Gandalf, Saruman, Radagast, and the mysterious blue wizards had a clear mission to guide the free peoples against the threat of Sauron without ever imposing their power. Gandalf understood this mission as a call to leadership through inspiration. It's a powerful lesson. The true leader doesn't carry the burden alone, but empowers others to face it together. Have you ever thought about how you can be that kind of leader in your daily life? Gandalf, among the 5 wizards, stood out the most for his connection with the peoples of Middle-earth. He didn't rule from a high tower like Saruman, but walked among the humble, eating, laughing, and listening to their stories. It's interesting to think that often strength lies in direct contact, in attentive listening. In today's world, a simple gesture, like a meaningful conversation, can be what transforms a situation. The Istari were also a reflection of how power can corrupt. Saruman, once the leader of the group, fell into the temptation to dominate instead of protect. Gandalf, on the other hand, chose the path of humility and service. This choice is a powerful reminder to us. When faced with power or influence, how do we choose to use it? Tolkien's work, as Gandalf himself would say, is a mirror of human choices. It's interesting to note that Gandalf always adapted to circumstances. He knew that in some battles, words were more powerful than swords. A clear example is his conversation with Bilbo when he convinced him to embark on the adventure with Thorin. It wasn't through force or imposition, but with cunning and words. In your daily life, do you use your words to build up or push away? Finally, the mission of the Istari was a constant reminder that good cannot be achieved through evil. That was the trap many in Middle-earth fell into, believing they could use the ring against Sauron. Gandalf knew that would be a fatal mistake. And in your life, are there shortcuts that seem promising but carry hidden risks? Maybe true victory lies in walking the harder but more just path. Gandalf's journey in The Hobbit is a clear example of how he saw beyond the obvious, recognizing potential where no one else did. when he gathered Bilbo Baggins and the dwarves. Led by Thorin Oakenshield for the adventure, many questioned his choice. After all, what could a hobbit offer on such a dangerous mission? But Gandalf knew that courage often hides in small hearts. Have you ever thought how many times we underestimate our own abilities or those of others around us? Throughout the journey to Erebor, Gandalf demonstrated an incredible talent for strategy and improvisation. He wasn't just the wizard who conjured light against the trolls, but the mentor who guided the group through challenges like orc ambushes and the traps of Mirkwood. His ability to act at the right moment, like when he split the group in Rivendell to ensure elven help, teaches us the value of planning, but also knowing when to change course if necessary. Perhaps the most crucial moment of this adventure was Bilbo's discovery of the One Ring. Gandalf didn't immediately understand the extent of this find, but he sensed that something important was at stake. He teaches us to pay attention to the small details, as often what seems insignificant can change the course of an entire story. In your daily life, what small details might be going unnoticed? Gandalf also proved to be a bridge between worlds, connecting peoples who often isolated themselves in their own concerns. He brought dwarves to work with hobbits, encouraged elves to get involved, and even risked confronting greater forces like Smaug the dragon. This ability to build bridges instead of walls is rare and precious. Today, are you connecting enough with people outside your usual circle? And at the end of this journey, although Gandalf didn't stay until the final battle at the lake, he made it clear that he had planted the seeds of success. He knew when to retreat, trusting in the strength of those he had inspired. This teaches us that leading isn't about absolute control, but about empowering others. Just as Gandalf let Bilbo and Thorin face their own destinies, maybe you can let something you've worked on grow without your constant supervision. Gandalf was the catalyst in the fight against Sauron. When he discovered that the ring found by Bilbo was, in fact, the One Ring, he understood the magnitude of the danger. He was the one who united different peoples and led the creation of the Fellowship of the Ring, showing that even the most unlikely, like hobbits, can be heroes. This unity reminds us that great achievements are rarely individual. True strength lies in working together. In your life, who are the allies that could be by your side on your journey? The crossing of Middle-earth was full of challenges, and Gandalf was always at the center of them. At the Council of Elrond, he demonstrated his persuasive ability, convincing men, elves, and dwarves to work together despite centuries of distrust. It's a practical example of how good ideas can unite even the most different. Do you have a strong enough cause to engage people who think differently than you? Maybe that's the beginning of something great. The journey through Moria was one of the tensest moments of the mission. Gandalf knew the dangers of the path, but he also recognized that sometimes the darkest way is the only one available. His courage in the face of the unknown, confronting the horrors of the orcs and the Balrog himself, is a powerful reminder that running away is never the solution. Think, what problems are you avoiding that, if faced head-on, could be transformative? During the trip, Gandalf showed that leadership isn't a position, but a responsibility. He was the voice of reason, the light in the darkness, always willing to put others' well-being above his own. When the Fellowship began to fragment, he knew he couldn't force unity, but trusted in each member's ability to follow their own paths with purpose. Maybe this is something you can apply. Lead with confidence and allow others to grow, even when it means letting them go. Finally, his determination to face Sauron without succumbing to the ring's power was the ultimate example of integrity. He refused the temptation to use the ring, knowing that even power used with good intentions can corrupt. And you reflected on the temptations that appear disguised as quick solutions. Gandalf teaches us that often the longest and hardest path is the one that preserves who we are. Few moments in The Lord of the Rings are as striking as Gandalf's confrontation with the Balrog on the bridge of Khazad-dûm. In that instant, he became the personification of courage in the face of overwhelming power. Before his companions, Gandalf didn't hesitate to sacrifice himself, holding the Balrog so the rest of the group could escape. And in real life, how many times do we find ourselves facing challenges that seem insurmountable? Gandalf reminds us that true courage isn't the absence of fear, but the action despite it. You shall not pass. These words echo to this day as a symbol of resistance. Gandalf knew that moment was decisive, and his choice to confront it alone was an act of pure altruism. This scene is a powerful reminder that in critical moments we need to stand our ground, even when we're alone. Is there a situation in your life where you're postponing that confrontation? It might be time to build your own bridge and face it. The battle that followed was brutal, taking Gandalf to the depths of Moria and then to the mountaintop. For days, he fought the Balrog until he finally triumphed, but at a great cost. This clash symbolizes how life's greatest struggles are rarely quick or easy. They require constant effort, resilience, and sometimes a high personal price. How can you cultivate that resilience in your own journey? Maybe by reading about examples of overcoming adversity or adopting practices like meditation to strengthen your mind. Gandalf didn't come out of this battle the same. He died as Gandalf the Grey, but was reborn as Gandalf the White, wiser and more powerful. It's a transformation that reflects how challenges shape us. In your life, what is the Balrog you might face to come out transformed? It could be a difficult project, a career change, or even confronting something internal, like an old fear. The important thing is to remember that transformation happens in the struggle, not in fleeing. Finally, Gandalf didn't return just to continue his mission, but to inspire renewed hope. His new form was a symbol that light can indeed prevail over darkness, as long as there is determination. And in your context, are you underestimating your ability to reinvent yourself? Gandalf teaches us that even when everything seems lost, rebirth is possible, as long as we have the courage to face the storm. Gandalf was more than a strategist. He was the tireless defender of the free peoples. His arrival in Rohan marked a turning point in the kingdom's fate. When he found King Theoden imprisoned by Saruman's influence, Gandalf freed him, restoring to the people of Rohan the leadership they so desperately needed. This moment reminds us of something essential. How often do we let external or internal forces prevent us from acting? Maybe it's time to face what paralyzes us and take back control. At the Battle of Helm's Deep, Gandalf was the ray of hope amidst the storm. He went out seeking reinforcements and returned at first light, leading Eomer's riders against Saruman's forces. This victory was not just physical, but moral. He teaches us that even in the darkest moments, it's possible to kindle a flame of hope. And in your life, is there someone who needs that light you can bring? Maybe a word of encouragement or a concrete action is what will make the difference. In Gondor, Gandalf took on leadership when the city was on the brink of collapse. With Denethor engulfed in despair, it was up to him to organize the defense of Minas Tirith. He lit the way, literally by ordering Gondor's signal fires, calling for help. This action teaches us the importance of asking for support in times of need. Have you ever thought about which signal fires you can light in your life to attract the right people to help? The Battle of the Pelennor Fields was another major moment where Gandalf showed what it means to lead. As chaos reigned, he stood firm, inspiring those around him to fight. But Gandalf wasn't just strength, he was wisdom. He knew that even after a victory, the real challenge was yet to come: the destruction of the ring. This is a powerful reminder that sometimes winning the battle is just the beginning of the war. And are you prepared for the next steps after your victories? Finally, Gandalf demonstrated that leadership isn't about commanding, but about inspiring. He didn't seek recognition. His only motivation was the greater good. When Aragorn took the throne, Gandalf quietly stepped back, knowing his mission there was complete. This gesture teaches us about the humility of knowing when it's time to exit the scene. Think, are you leading out of purpose or ego? Maybe the greatest act of leadership is empowering others to continue what you started. Gandalf's legacy in Middle-earth goes beyond the battles won or the alliances formed. He left a deep mark on those who crossed his path. Aragorn, Frodo, and even Samwise became better versions of themselves because of his words and actions. This reminds us that our impact isn't measured just by great feats, but by how we touch the lives around us. Have you ever stopped to think about how your actions might be shaping the future of those beside you? When Sauron was defeated and Aragorn was crowned, Gandalf didn't stay to bask in the victory's glory. He chose to depart for the undying lands, understanding that his mission in Middle-earth had come to an end. This farewell symbolizes the importance of recognizing when our role in a story is finished. It's a gesture that challenges us to accept changes and make room for new chapters. Are you holding on to something in your life that has already fulfilled its purpose? The wizard also taught us that lasting legacies don't come from strength, but from service. He didn't seek power, riches, or glory. His mission was to ensure that the free peoples of Middle-earth had the chance to live in peace. This lesson is timeless. The greatest contributions we make to the world aren't always visible or celebrated. Think, what are you planting today that can bloom tomorrow, even if you're not there to see it? Gandalf's impact went beyond what he could have imagined. His role in the recovery of the ring, the fall of Sauron, and the rebirth of Gondor will echo for ages. Similarly, we often underestimate the depth of what we do. A gesture of kindness, a word of encouragement, or a well-made decision can have ramifications far beyond what we can foresee. What seed can you plant today for the future? And even as he departed, Gandalf left a clear message: light, no matter how fragile it seems, can always prevail over darkness. He showed that even in the smallest creatures like hobbits, there is enough strength to change the world's destiny. Maybe you're underestimating the impact you can have. Gandalf would say that, like in any good story, the next step of your journey depends on embracing it with courage. If Gandalf were here, he would probably look at you with that spark of wisdom in his eyes and ask, what will you do with the lessons you've learned? Because in the end, knowledge without action is like a staff without purpose, powerful but useless. The wizard showed us that even when everything seems lost, there is always a way. Maybe your next step isn't facing a Balrog, but who said that? Everyday challenges aren't equally heroic. Think about it. What can you start changing now? It could be something small, like trusting more in your abilities, or something big, like embarking on a new journey. Gandalf believed in hobbits when no one else did. And you? Are you underestimating your own power or that of those around you? Middle-earth was saved because those who seemed small had the courage to do great things. Now here's a direct challenge. What is the ring you need to carry or destroy in your life? It could be a fear, a postponed decision, or even an opportunity you haven't yet embraced. Gandalf's story teaches us that transformation only happens when we are willing to face what haunts us. So what are you waiting for to take the first step? And don't forget, the journey doesn't have to be solitary. Just as Frodo had Sam, Gandalf had Aragorn, and the Fellowship had each other, you too can gather allies along the way. Share what you've learned, inspire others, and allow yourself to be inspired. After all, as Gandalf said, even the smallest act of kindness can change the course of the future. If you enjoyed this journey into Gandalf's secrets and want to keep learning about stories as fascinating as this one, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications right now. Don't miss the next chapters because, as you've seen, there's always something new to discover, and this could be your next great adventure.